You're listening to China Manufacturing Decoded from the Sofeast Group. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Adrian hosting and Kate, our supply chain management leader, joins me on this episode. She was with us recently, just a few weeks ago, and she's back.
Hey, Adrian. Thank you for having me again. I'm very happy to join the podcast once again. It's becoming a good tradition. Yes, so last time we did our podcast and on packaging, and we got some feedback that our listeners would like to hear about differences of logistics and product preparation between selling in retail, sale on Amazon FBA, or running direct to consumer business on Shopify, for example. So that's why I'm here today.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining.
To shed some light on what our importers should keep in mind as more and more people are diving into e-commerce and considering different sales channels, and the logistic behind the scenes is also quite different. So that's a great question. And thank you for our listeners for being proactive and suggesting us next topics to cover, which we are gladly doing today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, recently, if you're listening right now, you might remember that you received an email from us asking, are there any topics you want us to cover? And actually, one listener, Robert Kavanagh. So, Robert, hello, if you're listening. Thanks for your question. This is specific to what you'd asked about. So, yeah, really kind of looking at the difference between shipping and fulfillment, between, different types of sales channels. And absolutely, you're the right person for this. So you're completely right, Kate. These days, a lot more people are deciding to sell on e-commerce, for example. So if you are going down that route, how does it all work? So first, we're going to start with looking at the different types. I mean, I've just mentioned e-commerce, right? But let's look at the different types of sales channels.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, when we are talking about sales channels, mainly what most of people use these days are the three ones. So one is retail, right? So this is when you're shipping goods in bulk to distributors or to retail channels that you're partnering with. And this is where the delivery window is longer. It takes weeks and not days. And this is what you're doing in pallets and cartons. So this is a bulk shipment for retail. And then other one and very popular one is Amazon, of course. So Amazon FBA, which acts as your warehouse and also as a fulfillment center. So you ship inventory into Amazon fulfillment centers. They have their own rules, and Amazon is known for their strict rules, labeling and compliance rules. So this is to keep in mind. And then the third one that has evolved in the past years is direct to consumer, so-called D2C channel, which is via Shopify, WooCommerce, or similar channels. So this is where you hold inventory by yourself or you use a 3PL, and then you ship directly to your end customers. And this one comes with high expectations for both speed and tracking. So each of these models puts different pressure on your logistic planning and your product planning. So let me try to explain in a little bit more details what you should keep in mind while you choose each of those.
Great, please.
Yeah, so let's start with retail. So here you typically fulfill purchase orders in bulk. So you have a distributor, you have your MOQ for your distributor, or you have a retail channel and you have your MOQ, and they're ordering from you in bulk. Like MOQ would start depending on the product, but usually about 1,000, let's say. So then you're shipping it in bulk. Your shipments are usually palletized. If you have a not to be damaged, the timeline is usually weeks, as we said, and usually you ship by sea freight if the time allows. If If you're in a short timeline, you do by air, but we've covered many topics between differences. And of course, air shipment is much more expensive. So usually if you're planning right, you're shipping bulk orders by sea.
Mm.
Depending on if you're like put into a like large retail channel like Macy, I don't know, Walmart, they would have their own requirements to you for packaging, for barcoding, for carton labeling. These kind of things are also something that you would need to think about. If you're selling to like a smaller distributors, they might have less requirements, but this is something that you would need your Chinese, if you're importing from China, or you're basically from your supplier, to cooperate to help you with packaging, barcoding, labeling to meet your distributor requirements. Usually this also requires pre-shipment inspection to make sure, especially if you're shipping to a bigger distribution channels, you cannot compromise on that. And and then so you plan things in advance, and then you book a space on the boat. And this you should do like 2 weeks in advance before you are planning to ship, and then you can arrange shipment. So usually
Mhm.
from China, we ship either full container load, which is like FCL, or less than container, which is LCL, depending on your volume. So if you are a new brand, you're just emerging on the market, you don't have a big volume, LCL will be more common. It is still more expensive per unit compared to full container. But if you don't have the volume for one container, you just do LCL. That's totally fine. And especially some distributors you might have, or you might supply, sorry, for distributors, not only one group of product. You might have some product line with different products, and those can be done by different suppliers. So how we help here is that we can help to consolidate shipments from multiple factories. We can do inspection. We can help with export, like if you need to label or you need like special cartons or any marking and things like that, we can help to prepare at our facility, and then we can help to export, to send it to your destination. And
Mm.
usual timeline for door-to-door shipment is about 45 to 60 days, depending on where you ship. So that's about distribution. So big point here is to have things correctly packed, correctly labeled, and packed well with palletizing to make sure they're not damaged during transportation. That's the big thing. And also to plan to allow at least like 60 days overall in a good scenario between your shipping and between when you want to get them at the retail shelves. So this is about retail. So next one, let's talk a bit about Amazon FBA.
Mm.
So this one is very, like, everyone buys on Amazon, so no doesn't need any special introduction, right? But what also people who sell on Amazon know, that this channel has very specific rules. You're not shipping it to a customer, right? You're shipping to Amazon warehouse, and they have a strict labeling and carton content requirements. So each product must have scannable barcode, more or less, which is called like FNSKU. So SKU, more or less. Box content information needs to be uploaded to Amazon ahead of time. Cartons and pallets, they must conform to the size and weight restrictions of Amazon, and they should not surpass those. So otherwise you will pay much more. So that's very important. Like if you go on Amazon website, or if you use any AI, you will know in details, and usually suppliers also know. But this is also something that we are facing with our customers, and that we need a special package, special number of products we can put in the carton to meet the requirements. So this is something definitely to keep in mind. If you are selling to Amazon, shipping to Amazon from China, for example, then you can do sea freight to the US, and then last mile tracking to Amazon. Usually when you upload all the information, listings, everything to Amazon, they will give you warehouse address for your goods to ship, and this is where you
Mhm.
can plan your logistic. Then for air, you can, depending on the volume, you can do like air shipment, or you can ship even with express, DHL, UPS for small batches is available. There is also a new, sort of new, it's been like a couple of years, I think. There is Amazon Global Logistic, AGL. This is where Amazon is trying to kill Chinese forwarders. It's usually, yeah, we have some experience where our customers shipped with AGL. It has its benefits. Usually it's the shipping cost is lower than what we will even give you from local forwarders, but there are also drawbacks to that. Like I have few stories with customers here where basically if Amazon basically if any problems you have with this shipment, this is your problem. Like we had HS code mismatch problem, for example. Amazon decided that this is different HS code and they charged you this and this. So if you're shipping with forwarder, with a Chinese forwarder, for example, and especially if you're shipping DDP channel, which we usually do on our side, which is delivery duty paid, so forwarder is taking care of customs clearance part, you know how much you will pay. And if you're paying insurance, even you're protected in case you get troubles with the shipment to a big extent, let's say. With Amazon, yes, shipping cost is cheaper, but if you get into any sort of trouble or you forget some printing and you will get those delays or HS code or something else, this will be solely your problem. Amazon will not be helping on this. So this is to keep in mind. This comes already from experience. Yes, and yeah, so and also Amazon puts penalties for delays. So if you have problems with shipment, with Amazon shipment, Amazon will apply penalties that you're delaying for shipment to arrive to Amazon at the same time. And these guys know how to make money, like for poor labeling. So FBA shipment must be very clean and compliant. Okay, so then about Amazon. So as I said, it's not only a forwarder, it's not only seller, it's also your fulfillment center if you ship to Amazon FBA. So there are fees that are online. So those, I don't think I need to talk about it too much. Oversized products are more expensive than standard size products, so it's important to comply. And at the same time, you cannot really store inventory for too long. Amazon doesn't want you to do that. So they have a quite high inventory surcharge. If like after half a year, 181 plus days, I think, fees increase significantly. Okay, so you can go from like $1 to, depending on the product, to $3 to $6 per cubic foot. Yes, so that's a very big difference. So basically, usually, if you plan a long-term storage, it's better to work with 3PL and ship to Amazon the inventory that you're planning to sell in a like few months stock at max. You can also store you can store it in the US, but of course you will pay to 3PL as well. You can also store backup inventory in China and ship it as needed. So ship like few months inventory and then ship from China. It depends on your strategy, on logistic costs, on time of the year as well. And because shipping gets more expensive in Q4, for example. But especially now with the tariff, actually, that's also a new reality that we extensively covered. It makes sense to store in China and then to ship batchly to Amazon because tariff situation changes, and for now it changes to better than before. So if you have shipped previously, you would pay higher tariff than you would ship now. So it makes sense not to rush too much, I think, in my opinion. So that's about Amazon part. So what you need to know is that, you cannot, it's not a very good strategy to do a long-term storage and Amazon. So you need to plan either for alternative 3PL or in the US or in China. If you cannot sell your inventory like within half a year, you should not do that. And then make sure you're compliant with your carton sizes, with your weight, with your labeling, of each product, and that your listings are uploaded in time, and that you select the right logistic partner. Don't only buy cheapest AGL shipping cost, because if you're not 100% sure that your shipment will be smooth. So that's the takes for Amazon I would give.
Sounds
And
sounds
then
complicated. If only there was somebody that could help with that.
yeah, who's it might be? Yeah, so we are helping a lot. I mean, I guess 70% of our customers sell to Amazon. So we have a huge experience in this. Sorry, let me close the door. Yeah, we are very busy working these days, so it's sorry for the noise. Yeah, so let's jump into D2C. So basically, when you're shipping to customer via Shopify or WooCommerce or website, so more or less direct to consumer channels. So this is where you're responsible for shipping every order directly to your end consumer. And here you likely have two choices. So one is to hold inventory in the US or EU, Australia, with the 3PL, and then you fulfill locally. So if you ship a batch to the US to some 3PL, you keep batch there, and then you distribute, you get new orders, and you distribute from the US to US customers. If you're selling in the US, for example, if you're selling in the US, in the EU, you might want to ship a batch here and then a batch there. Or you ship directly from China via dropshipping or express shipping if you need fast, or if it's some remote location where standard dropshipping channels cannot reach. And this is what people do. Okay, let's compare and see what's the right strategy. So if you're fulfilling from China, and this is where Sofeast usually where we support, the benefit that you can start with zero inventory overseas. You don't need, because 3PLs, they would also have their minimum order and monthly fee or number of orders per month that they fulfill, and if it's less, you will need to pay more. All of 3PLs, they need a turnover. They will not just store your 500 pieces for years. So then you need to have a confidence that you can sell. So if you're just starting, you don't have that confidence, you can start with zero inventory and do it via dropshipping. So this is what we do for many people. And same goes to crowdfunding, by the way. If you have backers on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and then you need to fulfill the orders, this is also done usually by dropshipping. And this is where we also work a lot with our creators who we help with product development or with supplier management, and then we are helping with fulfillment via dropshipping channels from China. So we can handle it from storage, pick and pack, labeling, if you need to add thank you card, if you need any packaging or putting things together, this is what we can do. And then usually it's shipped via dropshipping channels, which is like ePacket, Unexpress, for Peaks, Rameni, which is good for small volumes, new products, and so on. So the delivery is usually, it depends, but 8 to 15 days, depending on the country and on the channel, something like that.
I've
between
bought
1 to 2 weeks. Yeah.
I've bought items from eBay in the UK, which have been fulfilled from China. And as you would expect, they're really cheap. And the shipping also not that expensive. And I think it only took about less than 2 weeks for sure to get here.
Yeah, it's 1 to 2 weeks, depending on where you're shipping.
Yeah.
It's quite fast, and many of them these days, they can provide tracking number. So you can also track your shipment. So for example, for us, we have a system that we connect with our customers system, so our importers system. So basically we can see if you have a Shopify website, for example, or a WooCommerce website, and you're selling on Shopify, you get new orders. If our systems are connected, we see this order initially in our system as soon as it comes in, and we can we can take it from here, we can fulfill it, pack it, or it's already prepacked, depending on how we do it. And then we ship out within 24 hours from the time we receive an order on our end. And we instantly allocate the tracking number. Actually, to give you the secret. You can pre-allocate tracking number even before you fulfill the product. So we do that. You can do that even in advance to give your customers peace of mind, and then like within 24 hours you ship out the product. So it's not a problem if done correctly. Yeah. So then we have 3PL fulfillment. Of course, is faster. Is like 2, 3, 4 days maximum. I think Amazon offers like, I don't know, 2 days or something delivery. I don't live in the US, so our listeners can give the right answer. But usually 3PL is also like 2, 3 days compared to 1, 2 weeks if you're fulfilling from China. But as we already mentioned, it's much higher upfront cost. You need to send inventory, you need to pay for storage, you need to pay for each unit fulfillment on top, you need to manage all of that. So that's more investment, but it's good for once you scale. So what I would recommend to start with dropshipping from China, but once you're getting like over, I don't know, 100 orders per day, for example, or even maybe less, I'm not sure, like a good amount that you see you are ready to scale, then this is time to move to 3PL. Then you can fulfill their request. Your shipping will be cheaper, lower, and you can get a better user experience. People will get your product still faster. So I think once your business grows, you can consider 3PL. Once you're just starting, it makes much more sense not to pay upfront cost and try this dropshipping fulfillment, especially that it's still relatively fast. You still get the tracking number. So it's a good option, I think.
Yeah, because if your products don't move as fast as you thought, and you're just starting out, well, you're gonna end up with a big bill from your 3PL regardless, and that's gonna hurt. So yeah, I get it. That's good advice. We've talked about the different logistics models, right? Every brand is different. Some people are running SMEs, maybe larger companies. Some people, perhaps they're interested in just drop shipping a few products here and there. So if we break down, the three different models that we've discussed and kind of summarize who might need those.
Yeah. So exactly. So now we talked about retail, we talked about Amazon, we talked about Shopify, and then I bet many of our listeners are wondering, so basically how you choose what's right for your brand. And of course, we cannot decide for you. And as you already mentioned, Adrian, each brand is different, but there are some basic things I think that you should keep in mind. So retail is generally great for established products. Usually this comes with quite high B2B requirements from big chains like Walmart, Costco, and so and so. So usually this is for established products. And once I have also personal experience with product development that we are doing for certain products, that many of them come like big retails or distributors, retail channels start to talk to you once they see you are successful online. So they check that you're selling quite a number on Amazon, or they check your Shopify or else. And this is when you're invited to join the retail club. So this is more like once you're scaling, once you have an established brand. Of course, you're lucky to go to retail, but this is usually it's more difficult. Also, they have quite harsh payment terms requirements. You get paid much later, so you also need to have this cash flow. So usually this is more suitable for established brands. On the contrary, Amazon gives you scalability, gives you reach. They have their audience to buy. Most people go on Amazon, so if people don't know your brand too well, you will get much more chances if you start selling on Amazon that has already your targeted consumers. But you must be precise, you must be fast, and you must be compliant. And there are a lot of also things once you start to explore Amazon, and that is new. Like I think the main one is that you don't own your customer. You don't have too much information about the customer, so you cannot really talk to your audience. And there are a lot of compliance regulations. So you get you might get with like into trouble with listings with other people trying to copy your product and so and so. So there is a lot of pain to manage Amazon, but there are a lot of
And
people
if
who
you
are,
get a poor review
yeah,
as well, or poor reviews from
reviews,
customers, which
exactly.
you don't have a lot of control over that. Like if somebody decides to write a really bad review, even though it's wrong and unfair, you might even be penalized by Amazon.
Exactly. Exactly, and yeah, you get competitors who also leave you poor reviews or buy your product and use it to give a poor review. So basically, there are a lot of uncertainties, but it's still the major product platform, and it has a huge amount of customers. We
Sure.
won't see in this wedding the other day, right? So
Oh.
it's a lot of money involved there. Yeah, so that's a great one. But this is what I guess the main point here is that Amazon is a great platform. It's
Mhm.
also a great platform to start and scale fast. But it's very difficult to do it by yourself if you don't have the right experience. Like
Mm.
you don't have too much margin for mistakes on Amazon. Okay.
Right.
So that's the main one, I think. And then the D2C one, so direct to end consumer, gives you flexibility, right? You're the boss there. Gives you your brand control. You own your audience. You own your customers. You have customer emails. You can do different marketing strategies once you have the customer data, full customer data, right? But then all the pressure is on you. If Amazon, you just send to Amazon FBA and they will manage the delivery, fulfillment and timeline and customer service even. So here, this all comes to you to fulfill, to be fast, to do the customer service right, to make sure your customers are happy. So this comes to you, both control and responsibility.
Mm.
So in many cases, our customers do mix and match. Okay, so you ship bulk to retail and to Amazon in terms of logistic. You might keep express stock in China for Shopify, for example, for any D2C or test launches for the new product, for example, to see how
Yeah.
it will be selling. And then you transit to 3PL once you see the traction and you're ready to scale. So there is no one size that fits all, but it's a lot about the maturity of the product, of your target market, and also about cash flow. Yeah, but hope this gives you a bit the idea of how you can build your strategy, starting with Shopify or Amazon or both, and then moving to retail at the end. And say you might want to start with dropshipping, and especially if you're selling on Shopify or WooCommerce, and then you might want to go to 3PL once you grow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the main one. And I think what's also important is to remember that you are not alone, okay, on this journey. And yes, and like most of everything that we've mentioned, this is what we are offering to our customers. So for example, if it's sea freight, which is good for bulk, for low cost per unit, and great for both retail and Amazon, we can give you options. And as I mentioned, usually we try to do DDP cost, so to let you have the end cost. And usually this is cheaper than if you like ship only to US and then you do customs clearance over there and then you do truck delivery. Is much more risk. So here the risk is on forwarder with DDP. But if you do like you break down that, usually is much more risk and it's higher in cost. And then if you have urgency, if you have mid-sized shipments, you can consider air freight, which is much faster. And then for fastest solutions is Express, DHL, UPS, FedEx. This is good for high value items. Of course, for fast delivery, also some remote locations. You don't have dropshipping channels too. But then for major locations in US, in EU, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK, most countries like in the Middle East, you can use dropshipping lines, which is budget friendly and good for Shopify, for WooCommerce, for website fulfillment. And of course, it's lower than DHL, but it's much cheaper and reliable. We don't have issues with them. Very, very rarely we face that something is lost. I can say that not not more often than other types of shipment. So I think that's fine. So,
Mm.
and you always, and always remember that at Sofeast, we can help you to consolidate shipments. We can help you with quality control, with labeling, any like FBA preparation for Amazon. Also, if you're selling on Shopify or WooCommerce, we can help you to do kitting, for example. If you need to put things together, we can help to pick and pack. We can help to offer like, I don't know, special packaging or thank you cards. So we have local suppliers that we can do things fast with to
Yeah.
add to your product. So to prepare it in the best like customer user experience, and then to manage fulfillment. So reach to discuss anytime, and we can discuss exactly about your brand and about your needs, and also help you to build a fulfillment strategy that would make sense for you in both short-term and long-term perspectives.
Perfect. Thanks, Kate. Brilliant. And love the plug at the end. I mean, it's true. Yeah, do reach out for advice. Listener Robert, I hope that answered all of your questions. And if you got any follow-up, let Kate know. You can come to me as well, but Kate's the expert here. So, and we'll get her back on again to the podcast and go over any additional. But yeah, so to Robert and all the other listeners who were interested in this topic and wanted to explore it more, hope that was great. I've enjoyed it and I think really helpful. Kate, thanks for coming on again.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Hopefully not too long before we do this again.
Till next time.
Thanks again for listening to this podcast brought to you by the Sofeast Group. We're on a mission to provide you with everything you need to manufacture effectively in Asia, including inspections, auditing, new product development support, contract manufacturing, 3PL warehousing and fulfillment, and much, much more across Asia's key manufacturing areas. Visit us at sofeast.com, that's SOFEAST.com, to learn more and get help. If you've enjoyed the podcast today, please do rate, review and share, because it will really help others discover us too.